Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable, the lecturer of Teaching English for Young Learners, Ibu Meti, and all of my beloved friends. First of all, let us thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala because of the blessing we are able to come here to join in this presentation for today. My name is Nabila Putri Ashifa as a moderator in this presentation. And for presentation for today, with the title is Contextualizing Instruction, Creating Thematic Units and Lesson Plans. And let me introduce our members. The first is Amanda Alhamdaniyah. The second is Icha Yugesta. The third is Nabila Putri Ashifa. The fourth is Nadia Rahmatillah. And the last is Nadia Ilma Mutiarani. And okay, for the first material is what is contextualizing instruction that will be delivered by Icha Yugesta. For Icha Yugesta, time is yours.
Okay, thank you to moderator for the times. I'm sorry to all of you, I can turn on my camera because I have problem on my device. Here I will explain about definition about contextualizing instruction. Contextualizing instruction is a teaching approach that involves the integration of academic skills such as reading, writing, and mathematics into the context of specific subject matter. This approach is designed to help students apply skill in real-world situations, making learning more relevant, understandable, and applicable. Next slide. Okay, for the next is thematic interaction. Thematic interaction, there are three. The first one is the importance of content. The importance of content yaitu pengajaran yang berpusat pada konten, terkait konten, akan diperkaya dengan konten. Jadi pengajarannya itu berbasis semuanya terhadap konten. Tujuannya untuk mengontekstualisasikan pengajaran bahasa dengan mengintegrasikannya dengan pelajaran lain. Kemudian, hal ini juga dapat memberikan kesempatan untuk siswa dalam memperkuat keterampilan akademik dan pengetahuan yang telah dipelajari di dalam kelas sebelumnya dan dapat mengintegrasikannya dengan pembelajaran bahasa Inggris. Kemudian yang kedua itu the value of local and national culture. Jadi tidak hanya berfokuskan pada konten, tetapi juga dalam pengajaran ini kita bisa memanfaatkan budaya lokal dan nasional untuk konten di kelas. Jadi anak-anak bisa diarahkan untuk menghubungkan dengan kehidupan sehari-hari mereka. Misalnya menceritakan tentang pekerjaan orang tua mereka, cara keluarga mereka menghabiskan waktu luang, menjalankan kehidupan sehari-hari mereka. Bahkan mereka juga bisa membahas tentang tempat tinggal mereka, tradisi yang ada di tempat tinggal mereka, seperti adat istiadat, cerita rakyat, seperti itu. Yang terakhir itu ada the importance of themes. Jadi, tema ini adalah dasar dari kontekstualisasi yang efektif, karena tema membantu menciptakan konteks yang bermakna, di mana fokusnya adalah pada sesuatu yang menarik, bukan pada bahasa itu sendiri. Dengan ini dapat membantu mereka menjadikan pelajaran yang relevan dan memberikan tujuan untuk belajar yang berkomunikasi. Kemudian juga aktivitas yang biasanya dilakukan dalam aktivitas yang biasa dilakukan yang relevan untuk dilakukan yaitu bercerita, bermain kelompok, berproyek, dan bertugas, serta memberikan alasan nyata bagi anak-anak untuk mengomunikasikan pikiran, perasaan, pengalaman mereka. Tetapi dalam konteks pembelajaran bahasa Inggris. Oke, next slide please. Nah, kemudian di sini how to create an effective English for young learners class. Jadi yang pertama itu creating opportunities to use English with a meaningful purpose. Menciptakan peluang untuk menggunakan bahasa Inggris dengan tujuan yang bermakna dapat dilakukan dengan menggunakan bahasa Inggris dalam kegiatan sehari-hari. Yang kedua itu building on the knowledge and skill learned through the first language. Jadi membangun pengetahuan dan keterampilan yang dipelajari melalui bahasa pertama dapat dilakukan dengan menggunakan bahasa Inggris sebagai media pembelajaran untuk mengembangkan pengetahuan dan keterampilan yang telah dipelajari di kelas sebelumnya. Seperti itu. The third is linking the English for Young Learners class with home, community, and local environment. Menghubungkan kelas ini dengan rumah, komunitas, dan lingkungan sosial, misalnya dengan cara membaca, bermain, seperti itu. Yang keempat, organizing interaction around themes that relate to children's experience at home and in their class. Yang kelima, providing a variety of ways to make English comprehensible. Yang keenam, keeping the language level of the activity at a comprehensible level just above their current proficiency level. Yang ketujuh, focusing children's attention on the games, song, story, or other activity rather than directly on the language. Jadi, dapat memfokuskan anak dengan mengatur kegiatan seperti bermain, bercerita, sehingga mereka lebih fokus pada bahasa Inggris daripada bahasanya. Jadi memfokuskan itu bisa dengan bermain lagu, cerita, atau aktivitas lainnya. Yang kedelapan itu organizing the classroom to facilitate communication among the children. Mengorganisasikan kelas untuk memfasilitasikan komunikasi di antara anak-anak. Dapat memfasilitasikan dengan cara bertukar cerita, bertanya-tanya, dan bertukar ide. Yang terakhir itu developing classroom routines to keep communication in English. Jadi biasanya anak-anak itu melakukan kebiasaannya seperti salam untuk masuk kelas dan kegiatan kegiatan yang sering mereka lakukan, misalnya masuk kelas, keluar kelas, jadi itu tuh harus dibiasakan dalam menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Seperti itu. Agar dapat menjaga komunikasi dalam pembelajaran. Seperti itu. Okay, that's all from me. For the next presenter, to Nabila Putri. Nabila, thanks is yours.
Okay, thank you. For the next material is about the planning the thematic units. So for the planning the thematic units is there are 6 steps to plan the thematic units. And the first is select a theme or select an appropriate text and identify the themes in the text. So for select theme or select an appropriate text, we have 2 ways. The first is theme first. The theme first is identify a theme, either in the textbook or that you want to use based on your knowledge of your learner's interest. So it means that the first thing that you do is identify the theme in the textbook or something like videos or story, and then based on the learner's interest. And the second is text first. So the text first is choose a story, poem, song, video, or other text that will be engaging to your children, and then you can identify the theme that emerged from the text. And the second is identify the language focus. There are vocabulary and grammar. So it means that you as a teacher need to pre-teach some vocabulary and also the target of grammatical structure. With the following, the first is new vocabulary and the second is vocabulary to review. And the third is grammar patterns, and the fourth is language function. And for the third step is identify content objective, links to other content areas. So identify the content objectives. Objectives is the process of explicitly stating the objective or goals of the lesson for students, which include both content objective and language objective. So what is content objectives? The content objectives is the outline that what students should know and be able to do at the end of the lesson, often derived from course standard and focusing on what of the lesson. And for language objective is something like how students will demonstrate their understanding of the content, focusing on the how of the lesson. So for the content objective is what, and language objective is how of the lesson. And the fourth is identify learning strategies or critical thinking skills. Understanding the various techniques and skills that students can use to improve their critical thinking abilities. Okay, so okay. Understanding the various techniques and skills that students can use to improve their critical thinking abilities. It means that identify learning strategies or critical thinking skills. So what is critical thinking skills? The critical thinking skill is include to analyze and reason, evaluate evidence, and make informed decision. And we have some strategies to develop critical thinking skills. The first is asking questions. The second is participating in discussions. And the third is practicing active learning. And the fourth is studying with example. And the last is going beyond and academic learning. And for the five steps, in the steps number 5, it's develop activities. So the things to remember is a unit should have activities that provide a lot of practice and provide opportunities to the students to apply about what they have to learn. And the unit should have activity that the first is for foster authentic language use. So, and activities in the classroom should be authentic or use authentic language. And the second is involve the use of all four skills. What is all four skills? All four skills like listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the third is draw upon students' prior knowledge. So as we know, like students' prior knowledge is important, right, to develop the activities in our class. And the next is lead to higher levels of understanding. And the fifth is encourage a variety of learning styles. As we know, in every student have different learning styles, so the teachers should encourage a variety of learning styles in the classroom. And the next is use a variety of grouping strategies and use a variety of media to make things understandable. Or the teacher use a media in the classroom to make student interest to our lesson or to the teacher lesson. And the next is motivate learner to use English and engage learner in critical thinking and then interest the teacher. And for the last steps is about the engaging sequence the activities. The following to sequence the activities is the first is engaging learners in receptive task before productive task, and then presenting language, vocabulary, or grammar before asking students to practice. So the first you should do is presenting the language before asking students to practice, and then the third is using controlled practice activities before more independent activities and connecting one activity to the next, and sequencing the content to recycle language, and last is ordering the task to mirror the real-life application of the task. I think this is the steps toward thematic units. And the next slide is about the example of theme first unit planning. So this is the example using brainstorming lab to the plan a thematic unit on weather. And the activities in this was the theme first or thematic unit or weather is reading. There are reading activities, writing activities, listening or speaking activities. And then this is so many themes. There are physical education, and then math, and social studies, science, music, and art. So this is all of the theme and theme whether of the theme first and unit planning. This is only the example, and we go to the next slide. Is about this is the example of unit plan for several days of instruction. Same. The theme is weather. And for young learners in 7 to 8 in their second year of English. So this is the language objective. There are grammar and vocabulary, right? And for the content objective, there are review and animals, identify where different types of animal lives, identify differences in the way people dress in different weather, and do a bar graph of class favorite weather. So because the theme is weather, okay. For the sample activities for language skills, there are four language skills: listening, is listen to the story and listen to the song, and then listen to simple news, weather report. And for the speaking, is asking and answer and talk about the clothes they wear in different weather and talk about the clothes when they wear to different for different sports and talk about their favorite weather. And then for the reading is read the story and read about the animals and answer the true or false questions and read about the children want to wear who live in different climates. And for the writing is the students is write about what the weather is like and what they are wearing. And for the learning strategies, there are two. For the first is make prediction and confirm or disconfirm them, and then use a graphic organizer. And how about the text first? So this is the example of text first unit planning. Okay, the theme is food and nutrition and life cycles for young learners aged 6 to 7 with beginner level English. And there is the language objective. The first is grammar, and then vocabulary about the food and nutrition, and then content objective. The first is identify the value of different foods and review days of the week and create a bar graph for food and identify the life cycle of butterfly with compare with another animal, not only the butterfly. And the sample activities for language skills, there are four language skills: listening, speaking, and reading and writing. For listening, as activity is listen to the story, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So the text or the story is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And the for uh, speaking is talk about the foods. For choral read repetitive part of the story, develop dialogue, play caterpillar board game, playing game, and sing a caterpillar song, color a butterfly, and tell the classical color you use, and answer true and false. And for the reading is dictate a language experience story, read and sequence, and match name of fruits with picture. And for the writing is fill out the calendar or graph of caterpillar foods and print out the cards of foods like or not and make a caterpillar book and label. And for the learning strategy activity, same with theme first. There are two. The first is sequence information, and then the second is make prediction and confirm or disconfirm them. I think that's all about the unit planning. And for the next material is about long-term planning that will be delivered by Amanda. For Amanda, time is yours.
All right, thank you, moderator, for the chance. So here I will explain a little bit about long-term planning and planning for a term or year in English for young learners. So long-term lesson planning for English for young learners involves creating a comprehensive curriculum that covers an extended period such as semester or an academic year. It involves setting goals, selecting appropriate materials, and organizing instructional activities to ensure that students acquire the necessary language and knowledge in a structured and coherent manner. According to Linz in 2005, long-term listening ensures that language instruction is systematic and aligned with the learner's developmental stages, interests, and needs. It helps teachers to first set clear and achievable learning objectives. So, long-term planning allows teachers to establish specific language skill and knowledge that students should acquire by the end of the instructional period. This is according by Brewster et al. In 2004. And second, sequence content and skills. Teachers can organize language concept, vocabulary, and structures in a logical and progressive manner, building upon previously learned material. Cameron in 2001. Next, third, integrate language skills. Long-term planning facilitates the integration of listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills, ensuring that students receive well-rounded language instruction. Fourth, incorporate various teaching methodologies and activities from Seen and Crandall in 2014. Teachers can plan a variety of age-appropriate activities such as games, songs, storytelling, and project-based learning to engage young learners and cater to different learning styles. And last, assess student progress. By McKay in 2006, by establishing clear learning goals, teachers can develop effective assessment strategies to monitor student progress and adjust instruction as needed. Long-term lesson planning also consider factors such as students' backgrounds, interests, and learning preferences, as well as the available resources and curriculum guidelines from Rickson and in 2013. So that's it from long-term lesson plan. Next slide for planning for a term or year in English for young learners. According to Sin and Crandall in 2014, effective long-term planning for a term or year in English for young learners should include the following components. Number one, establishing clear learning objectives. Teachers should identify the specific language skill, like for example, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And then vocabulary and grammar structures that learners are expected to acquire during the term or year. Number two, sequencing content and skills. The curriculum should be organized in a logical and progressive manner with new language concept and skills building upon previously learned material. Number three, selecting appropriate themes and topics. Themes and topics should be engaging, relevant, and culturally appropriate for young learners, allowing them to make connection between the language and their own experiences. Next, for number four, integrating language skill. Instructional activities should incorporate opportunities for learners to practice and develop all four language skills, like listening, speaking, reading, writing in an integrated manner. Next is incorporating various teaching methodologies and activities. The curriculum should include a variety of age-appropriate teaching methodologies and activities, such as games, song, storytelling, role play, and project-based learning to cater to different learning styles and maintain learner engagement. Next, assessing and monitoring progress. The plan should include strategies for assessing learners' progress regularly, such as formative assessment, portfolios, and summative evaluation. This is allowing teachers to adjust instruction as needed. Next, considering learners' backgrounds and needs. The curriculum should take into account learners' diverse background, interests, and learning preferences, as well as any special needs or accommodation required. And last, aligning with curriculum guidelines and standards. Long-term planning should align with any relevant curriculum guidelines, standards, or policies set by educational authorities or institutions. By following this component, teachers can create a well-structured and comprehensive long-term plan for a term or year in English for young learners. This is ensuring that instruction is purposeful, engaging, and tailored to the learner's developmental needs. Maybe that's all. Thank you. For the next material will be delivered by Nada. For Nada, please.
All right. Thank you, Amanda, for a chance. So now I will deliver the material about daily lesson planning. So what are the benefits of lesson plans? It is the importance of planning and organizing a lesson to build confidence in the classroom. It highlights the role of planning in preparing for the class, ensuring materials and duration are allocated, and providing a guide during the transition from controlled to freer activities. It also emphasizes the need for specific objectives for the class and the importance of considering different learning styles like auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. When implementing activities, it can conclude by suggesting that planning helps teachers reflect on their initial plans and make necessary changes for future teaching. Overall, planning is crucial for fostering a positive learning environment and fostering students' confidence. Next slide, please. All right. This is aspect lesson plan. So the first is there are student profile. The student profile is what grade this lesson is for, and the second is skill to be emphasized. Next, language. There is objectives to material, warm up activities such as pay attention, connect to prior knowledge and experience, review what students have learned, and then core activities like delivers material, presentation, practice, etc. And then warm down or cool down activities such as games, assessment, reflection, and conclusion. Next slide, please. All right. There is writing objectives. So objectives are crucial in lesson planning as they outline the purpose of the lesson and what students are expected to learn. They should address both content and language learning, as well as academic skills or learning strategies, and objectives should be measurable, allowing for the determination of whether students have met or are in the process of meeting them. They should be as specific as possible, avoiding the use of understand as it is difficult to measure. They may also include specific language function related to the topic or themes. And a typical format for objectives is SWDIT. That is, students will be able to plus objective. Next slide, please. All right, this is choosing activities. So active learning is essential for children to make sense of their environment and interact with their peers and teachers. It involves comprehensible input through listening, reading, and output through speaking and writing. And the activities should be interesting, fun, and relevant to children's lives and varied, including songs, chants, games, stories, poems, role plays, and projects. And these activities appeal to different learning style and multiple intelligences and should connect to the large school curriculum. They should appeal to both outgoing and shy or silent children, ensuring a comprehensive and engaging learning experience. Next slide, please. All right, this is organizing activities. There are four activities for organizing activities that are warm up, presentation, practice, and application. Warm up activities of any unit or lesson. It is essential to provide warm up activities to build learn engagement and establish the direction for the unit or lesson. This helps to link the day's lesson with previous lessons. During the presentation activities, the teacher or student, there will be present material. And during the practice activities, students need opportunities to practice using the topic and new language in predictable ways. This can be done through controlled activities or guided practice, as well as independent activities that involve speaking and writing. And in the application activities, students are independent. These activities usually involve speaking or writing, or sometimes both. The goal is to encourage students to use the language authentically or in authentic context. Often, application activities involve a project. Next slide, please. Okay. So, what about assessment? So, assessment should be integrated into the lesson. Not a spirit activity, and the primary focus should be on fluency and motivating young learners to use English and enjoy it. And teachers should provide an environment where they can task, risk, and communicate using various research. So it is important to avoid making mistakes and maintain enjoyment and confidence. And adults can simultaneously focus on fluency and accuracy. In practice stage, praise students' efforts and build correct form. Indirect assessment can be gotten throughout the lesson, especially in the practice and application stage. Teacher can determining in class and then reviewing the language and content by listening to their response in class, and then reviewing structure or words and identifying students who need additional help. And next, there is peer tutoring arrangement can be implemented to help students with their learning. And some teachers use an exit strategy by asking students to provide a brief answer as they leave class. Formal assessment should be conducted at the end of a unit, but informal assessment should be conducted throughout the lesson. Next slide, please. All right, so what about grammar? Grammar instruction should focus on repetition and use rather than direct teaching of rules for young children. Instead, children should notice grammar and slowly acquire it by using it. It is crucial to provide opportunities for children to recycle grammar and vocabulary in meaningful activities that involve all four language skills. In a successful English as a second language class, children are using the language to learn how it works. It is also important not to overtly correct children's grammatical mistakes when communicating in class, especially when keeping the communication in English. Instead, provide more activities for practice and praise contribution. In a successful EFL class, children learn how the language works by recycling grammar and vocabulary in meaningful activities that involve all four language skills. Maybe that's all from me. Thank you. For the next material will be delivered by Nadia. So Nadia, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nadia, for the time. So here I will explain about sample lesson. So here, as you can see in the screen, example of lesson planning. So the value of trees following is a sample lesson from a unit of the value of trees for 9 until 10 years old with intermediate English language proficiency. The centerpiece of the unit is the Great Kapok Tree by Laini Cherry. But there are many children's books focused on trees that could be substituted. And for the shorts explaining about the Great Kapok Tree. So in the story, there's tells about a man who walks into a rainforest, and then he wants to cut down the tree, but and then he feels tired, and then rest for a while and fall asleep. In the dream, the creatures of the rainforest come into his dream, and then tell the man to do not cut down the tree. And the creatures in the dream tells the man about the reason why he shouldn't cut down the tree. And then after the dream, the man wake up, and then he leave the rainforest and didn't cut down the tree. And the Greek Kapok tree makes a wonderful centerpiece for a unit on the value of trees. It has beautiful illustrations of each animal, of the vegetation in the rainforest, and even a map of the world with areas of rainforest marked and an illustration of the various layers of rainforest. The following lesson plan is only for one class, as you can see in the screen, but it could be the basis for a long and fascinating unit for children. So in the previous lessons, the learners have taken a walk around the school grounds, pointing to different trees and talking about the leaves, trunk, bark. Also collected various leaves and reviewed vocabulary to talk about them, colors, shapes, size, and leaves can be substituted. They have also completed an in-a-class activity using KWL, graphic organizer discussing what they know about about trees, what they want to find out about trees, and later they will fill in what they have learned about them. Okay, so let's move on to the lesson planning. And the title is The Great Kapak Tree by Laini Cherry. Student profile, grade 4 until 5 intermediate level of English proficiency. Skills to be emphasized: listening and speaking. Language for grammar, need, plus 3 for what? Vocabulary, kapok tree, names of the animals in the story, rainforest, kapok tree, parts of the tree, Amazon River. For objectives, by the end of this lesson, students will be able to talk about the value of the tree in relation to several of the animals in the story. Materials: beautiful pictures of different kinds of trees from their context and other countries. It could be printed from the internet on paper or put in a PowerPoint study show. A graphic organizer on a tree with lines pointing to the roots, trunk, branches, and leaves of the tree. To copies, to, co- to copies for each student, pictures of animals from the book, and the Great Kapok Tree by Laini Cherry. For the warm-up activity, first is the teacher should capture the students' attention. Show students many beautiful pictures of different kinds of trees from their country and other countries. Some of the trees may look very strange and wondrous to them, and ask them, "What are these? Where can you find these trees?" Rainforests where these trees are found. Then connect the prior knowledge and experience. Think, pair, share. Ask the students to think individually about all the ways in which we use trees, their value to us, then share their ideas in a pair with one partner. Filling out one of the three graphic organizers above. Then, as a class, share their ideas and fill out a large tree organizer on the board. As you can see, that's the example of the picture of the large tree. Then preview the cover of the storybook. Tell the class that you are going to read The Great Kapok Tree to them. Show them the cover picture and ask them if anyone has seen a kapok tree. Let them describe it and what they see on the cover. Point to the animals, the man with the axe, and all the flowers. Ask them where they think the story takes place and what they think the book is going to be about. Will it teach new vocabulary or expressions? You can use picture cards of the individual animals with their name on the card. Teach the names of the animals. Introduce the rainforest, showing them a map of the world where there are rainforests, and then point to the Amazon River and Brazil, where the story takes place. Have them name the animals. And the last warm-up activity is give students a purpose for listening. Tell the students that as you read, you want them to listen specifically for the names of the animals and the value of the tree to that animal. They can take note as you read. For presentation activity, break students into 10 pairs or groups, so each pair or groups has one graphic organizer with who, what, why to use together. Make sure that the students note the ways that animals communicate. For example, the boa constrictor hisses as he tells the man with the axe not to cut down the tree. Assign each group an animal and tell them write the name of the animal in the who box. That is the example of the box. First, there's who, boa constrictor, and then what? Hist, don't chop down the tree. And box Y, ancestors live there, tree of miracles. Pause switch each page and review what happened with the students. Cue each pair or group to take notes on their graphic organizer as you read. But also tell the students to listen to the information about other animals because they will need it later. Next, practice activity. Retell part of the story. Draw and retell. Pairs of groups draw the scene about their animal and prepare to present who, what, and why. Based on the story, they take their notes from the graphic organizer and write the sentence they will present. Be sure each member of the group of pair presents an equal amount. Put all of the pictures on the board in order of the story. Then begin to retell the story, having each group present what they prepared. Next, controlled practice. You can put up a large picture of the couple tree. As you name an animal, ask students to explain the value of the couple tree and point to the part of the tree that is valuable to that animal and say, blah 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 needs the tree for blah blah blah. Next, for the application independent activity, personalized content. To name the trees in their local context, what trees do we have here? Make a list, then have students choose one, draw it, and write their own page modeled after what their animals said, using their own reason for needing in the tree. And for the assessment, as exit ticket. As each students leave class, ask them to name one of the animals and something that animal needs from the couple tree. Or they can explain their own personal reason for needing trees. And the last one, for follow up, you can give them homework. Ask the students to search for rainforests on the internet and to see what other trees and animals live there. The next class will be about rainforests. So in the subsequent classes, the story will be read again, and this time the class will listen for how each animal moves and communicates and complete a chart on the board. Each child will then have a chance to act out one of the animals, moving as the animal does and imitating the way the animal speaks as you read the animal's line. Therefore, later you could have them play a game of Who I Am, with the class asking questions as students move the way animal moves or makes the sound of the animals. And then next slide. Then the last is evaluating thematic units and lessons. So after teaching the lesson, teachers can take a note of its success or any problem during the lesson in class, or write down the problems. Then the teacher might also want to make a note of anything that was confusing to the class. The teacher should review with them the next time that the teacher meet. If the teacher have their lesson on a computer, so it should be relatively easy to revise the lesson the next time. And over time, as the teacher build up a number of units and the lesson plans, their planning will take much less time. And also the teacher will also want to reflect on the relative interest that students have shown in a unit, in the story, video, song, or other texts, to decide if the teacher want to adapt the theme or even change in the next term of year. That's all from me. I will give it back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. And next slide, please. Okay. Okay, thank you for Nadia and all of the presenter. And from our presentation, I can conclude that for young learners to find language acquisition meaningful and motivating, contextualized instruction is important. Children who are pulled from different content areas should find the theme relevant. So, when we plan a thematic unit, One can either select a text and determine the thematic focus, or they can select a theme and then create the unit. The next, establish connection with other subject areas and instructional techniques. Then, create or organize two. And thank you for the all presenter, and thank you for your attention. And okay, back to the references. Can you back to the references? Okay, this is the references that we use. And if you have a question, you can tell us in the group. And thank you for your attention. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.